The Gauls. They would rather lie slain in battle than lose the freedom gained by their forefathers. My legions march north. The nights grow long and the wolf grows hungry. Rome demands blood. I will be outnumbered. The valor of my men stretched to breaking. The enemy? Merciless. The Senate expects defeat. Yet the goddess Fortuna favors the bold. They must be divided, scattered, conquered. I will trade their blood for power.
Hello and welcome everyone, Lionheart here with an overview and introduction to the newly released Caesar in Gaul DLC for Total War Rome 2. I'm going to be looking at the 4 factions that are in this mini campaign. Think of it similar to the Peninsular campaign for Napoleon Total War, a zoomed in area of the Grand Campaign map, focusing heavily on Gaul or France, a little bit of the Germanic tribes area and Germania, and a little bit of southern Britannia, and just the northwest of the Italian plains of Liguria and Insubria. So, without further ado, let's have a look at some of these factions. Following this, we're going to have a look at each of the factions on the campaign map, their starting location, and the initial challenge that they're going to be facing, some of the units they can recruit, their diplomatic situation, similar to the faction overviews I've done before. Then perhaps we'll see if we can see a few of the units in battle against each other, probably from the new Nervi tribe or faction that will get seen in action, and then I will round it all up by briefly looking at the 3 new factions that also come along with this DLC for the Grand Campaign. But anyway, Rome, the paragon of civilization. You have a normal initial challenge starting at 58 BC, and that is the start year for all of the factions. Cultural oppressors plus 25% public order penalties due to the presence of foreign cultures. Romanization plus 2 to cultural conversion. Paragons of civilization plus 10% morale during battles in neutral or enemy territory, and they start off with quite a few territories. Obviously the territories in northern Italy, and then this territory in the south of Gaul. The Averni, the champions of Gaul. Champions of Gaul plus 10% melee attack during battles in own or allied territory. Contention of nobles, public order penalty, maximum -4, presence from presence of Celtic culture. Now this links into the period that we're looking at here. You have Vercingetorix leading a rebellion later on, trying to unite the whole of Gaul under his banner against Caesar's forces. You also have Gaelic hegemonists, or however you want to say that, a moderate diplomatic bonus with all Celtic tribes, cultural affinity. So we're starting to get a theme here. Cultural conversion is you know, there's several buffs for them, but it's also seemingly quite important, as is public order, which again, from playing the main Rome 2 campaign, it is quite vital that you keep that public order high, and there are a lot of modifiers which affect that. The Swibi, or Swabi, however you want to say them, warrior society plus 1 public order for every war against a neighbouring faction. So they really are going to benefit from, you know, you're not going to want to be a passive Swabi. You're going to want to be an aggressive, you know, for the more wars that you have against neighbouring factions. You're going to get a public order boost from home, which potentially could mean that you can build up momentum. Whereas factions such as Rome, with that public order penalty that they have, they're actually probably going to have to stay in provinces and lock them down for a few more turns with that there. Agricultural constraint, minus 50% wealth from agricultural buildings. Now this could be interesting, and when we get on the campaign map in a bit with the Swibby, I will be looking at their, their building tree and seeing what they can build, because they are losing 50% of their wealth from all agricultural buildings, and with a lot of the Germanic Celtic tribes, the agricultural buildings normally allow access to some of their better units through the various tiers there, and generally earn them a substantial bit of money. So perhaps they're going to have to industrialize a little bit. I don't know what options are open to them. Again, we'll look at that in a moment. Invaders from Germania, plus 10% melee attack during battles in neutral or enemy territory. It may not seem like a lot, plus 10%, but it is going to make a difference, especially for those higher end units. And again, it's allowing the Swibby to push aggressively out from their starting territories and do a lot of damage. And they have an initial challenge of hard. Finally, wrapping up this selection of the 4 new factions, the Nervy. National Courage, Public Order bonus, maximum of +4 from presence of Celtic culture. So again, we see the importance of the culture and making sure it's all converted to your faction's native culture. So that's going to be important. Again, helps them push out if they have stable provinces with public order. Belgic austerity, minus 50% wealth from industrial and commerce buildings. So a complete reverse from the handicap that the Swibby get. These guys are probably going to have to focus on agricultural buildings if they want to get the full amount of income in through those buildings. But again, look more in detail at that in a moment when we're on the campaign map. Bravest of the Belgae, plus 10% morale during battles in own or allied territory. So, if they are attacked, if they have to fight on the defensive, they're going to do a little bit better. They're going to have a slightly higher morale in those battles, and they have an initial challenge of easy. So it's a nice way, I guess, to ease in with a completely new faction that we haven't seen before. So let's get on the campaign map. We're going to look at each of the factions in turn: Rome, Arverni, Swibby, and Nervy.
As I cross Transalpina, my course of action is clear. The Helvetii must be stopped before they can migrate into Greater Gaul. Their Sequani allies do not concern me, beset as they are by Swaby forces, although the Germans could become a serious threat if allowed to cross the Rhine en masse. By befriending us, tribes such as the Aedui have drawn the ire of their fellow Gauls. For their own safety, they will submit utterly to Roman protection, as did the Vocontii before them. I will seize our mutual enemies' territories and resources, for the good of Rome and her allies, of course. And by my hand, Gaul will be subdued.
Gaul will be subdued. Thank you very much, Caesar. So, we have an objective issued, as with all factions when they start the campaign. Not going to look into that, but that gives you an idea of where you need to kind of go with your first initial attacks. Completely control 3 provinces. That gives you a nice aim to start with. So, let's have a look at the Roman starting location. We start off with Julius Caesar, an army behind behind enemy lines. The Helvetii are there at Octaduron. They could pose a threat. We'll have a look at the relations with them in a moment. Obviously, more settlements here than on the main campaign map. This is an expanded Gaul map, as well as a few little regions up in Britain, which is nice to see a little bit there. I would love to see kind of a expanded map campaign on Britain at some point as well, with perhaps Boudicca's rebellion. But anyway, Caesar has 6 legionary units, an onager and a ballista. Now I think it's going to be key to hold on to both of those artillery pieces to really secure victories in this campaign. Also has the Celtic Warriors, light horse and Celtic skirmishers, so kind of the auxiliary units he's gained in his army here, and that's where you're going to be able to get a lot of troops from. And I feel that this is going to be, again, similar to how the Peninsula campaign worked for Napoleon Total War, where you have to be careful. You don't want to lose your kind of original faction troops. For Rome, these are the Legionaries and the artillery, because it may be that you get an event that occurs which sends reinforcements in periodically, but you may not be able to actually recruit any more of these units until very much later on in the game, so you'll have to rely on local auxiliaries and what have you, or mercenaries. So, let's have a look at their starting location from the strategic map. They start off, looks like they've got 5 settlements in total. Pollentia, Vercellum, Medhallen, which we're all familiar with, and Genoa, equally familiar with them. And over here it is Narbo Martius. Let's whack back down onto the map there. And we have another small army over here. Veteran legionaries with the general, few legionary units, but as you can see what we can recruit here, the levy freemen are the only ones that we have the option to get. Caesar's army there, but let's have a look here. From Medhallen, I assume they're probably the bigger city. But what can we get here? So we can get legionaries from the Manipular Barracks. We have to get the mobilized troops technology, which is actually under... okay, so there's different things here. You have support for Caesar. Oh, yep, support for Caesar. Support for Crassus, and support for Pompey. So that's quite interesting then. And we have military, culture, and infrastructure with technologies. Those are okay, so there's political technologies, and then these are kind of seen as development technologies. So that's very interesting to see the change there. Some of those abilities we're familiar with, and things you'll need to research, but other ones not so much. But all the support for Caesar is going to go into the war effort, getting new troops. For Crassus, it's going to be... oh, what's this? Syrian claim? Parthian campaign. Oh, okay, so this is sending... okay. So these are the various, you know, kind of generals you got about elsewhere, I believe. Or, you know, other senators and what have you. So they're going to be able to go off on other campaigns, which will actually unlock some units kind of from the other campaigns that Rome is getting involved in. The Hispanic claim, so you're going to get the gladiator school from there. And this one's obviously the Syrian claim and the Parthian campaign. So very interesting to see how that's all going to work. Looks pretty darn cool. Prolong Imperium. Very interesting to see that there. Lots of interesting technology springing up for Rome. So let's have a look at what we can actually build in Genoa. Pretty standard with the buildings, all pretty much from the main campaign, I assume there. But yeah, interesting to see what we can get there. Assault Bareme Legionaries. The Auxilary Barracks there, we're going to get Light Horse and Slingers. And okay, so provides garrison, that's actually of Legionaries, but you can't actually recruit any more. The Manipular Barracks, let's see how this works out in Caesar and Gaul. So we can get to the Legion Barracks, which, what is that going to let us actually recruit? It allows us to actually get some Armoured Legionaries. I don't know if this is straight from the main game or not. Manipular Barracks here. It should let us get Principes and Antriero, but I don't think this directly, these bits here directly relate to the Caesar and Gaul entries. So we can get Legionary Cavalry and Celtic Warriors, and obviously without going further into the campaign I can't find out what end game units we're really going to see here, but it seems that you probably will, you've got the Legionary Cavalry there. So you're probably going to be able to get access to some you know, kind of elite Roman units, but it is going to take a while to get to that stage. So you're going to have to rely on some of the local mercenaries and local units such as Levy Freemen and Celtic Warriors and such until you can get to that stage. So let's finally have a look at the diplomacy for Rome. Okay, the Helvetii are going to be ones you're going to want to probably look to attack first. Potentially the right hand side of the map is going to be most appealing. However, you're also going to go up against the Volcae, the Ruteni, the Cadurci, and obviously, the Averni are very close there as well. The Voconti and Massalia may be interesting to see what you're going to do there. You're already at war with the Helvetii, and you... okay, these guys are your client state, the Voconti. So, interesting start up there. Most of the other factions, generally seen, bar these ones here, are pretty hostile towards you. But then this is a conquest of Gaul, so to be expected. Obviously, seasons make a return in this campaign because you're dealing with a smaller period of time in terms of years. So obviously, each end turn is going to take a couple of weeks, and so you're going to go through summer, winter, spring, and fall. Done those in completely the wrong order. But yes, those are your various choices: spring, summer, autumn, or fall, and winter. Let's now go have a look at the Averni.
I am told that the Arverni consider themselves champions of Gallic independence, and will do everything in their power to thwart Rome's progress in Gaul. Their situation is ideal, nestled in a mountainous heartland with gold and lead within reach. The Arverni pose a great threat to Rome's friends, especially the Aedui, with whom they share a violent history. They will likely seek the support of the Allobroges to secure the Transalpine approach, uniting the hinterland tribes as they go, all the while threatening all who seek Rome's protection. The Arverni must not be dismissed out of hand. The threat that they pose to Roman hegemony in Gaul is very real indeed.
Beware the Romans is sort of the message from, well, Caesar himself, so it's kind of weird there, but from the little introduction there. Beware Rome, and, you know, be careful of where you expand to. I'm trying to unite Gaul. So, starting off in lovely summer, early April. And we have Vercingetorix leading the army here. Have a look at the old faction. Can assassinate, secure promotions for the elder chiefs, and it's just one faction to deal with. You're not going to have to worry about these guys dying off unless you lose them in combat, I wouldn't have thought, because the timescale is too short. So you don't actually have to worry about you know, internal politics, but you will have to probably see how your politics match up against the other Gallic tribes and Celtic cultures in the region, and, you know, see how that either helps or hinders your rebellion. Vercingetorix there with a general's unit of spear nobles. Start off with just Nemossos, and you have various buildings open to you. The slave trader unlocks savage dogs, which you're going to probably want to go for pretty early on. Vercingetorix's army, pretty decent number of troops there so far, and can recruit, you know, a few more into his ranks to start with, but you're going to want to improve and increase that as soon as possible. Let's have a look at the tactical or strategic map here. So, hedged in between various different tribes. Rome is, you know, only a region separates you and Rome. I think it probably would be wise to see if you could rush down and get rid of the force at Narbo Martius as soon as you can. That should help prevent the march of Caesar's forces, because obviously Caesar starts over here. He's going to push back to attack the Helvetii, and yeah, that could be a useful target to go for straight away. Let's have a look at their diplomacy as well. Who are they friends with? Okay, you can form a confederacy through same blood, as I assumed you probably could do, and there's plenty of options to do this. Don't even know if we can do this straight away. Join confederation, no. Offer them all the monies. No, that won't work. I'm still lol if you could do that straight away. Okay, so there's a lot of same blood going around, so there is plenty of options to form a confederation, rather. Is it confederation or yeah. So plenty of options open to you. The tribes sort of to the south are friendly. Over to the east, it's relatively neutral. The ones in the north are probably the ones where you're going to want to expand to, perhaps first, unless you want to rush down and try and get Rome out of Narbo Martius. These guys are going to want to attack you. You have a defensive alliance with the Cadurci, which are over here, or Cadurci. Can't even say them. These dudes here, the Cads. you're not at war with anyone to start with, you're not even at war with Rome, so you can pick and choose your time to strike. If you could perhaps get these guys here, the Ruteni, to join your confederation, you could then march on Narbo Marcus. Let's have a brief look, not at diplomacy, clicked the wrong one. Let's have a look at technology and see how this varies. So yeah, okay. So compared to where you had military and civil technology trees in the Grand Campaign, you now have deployment and politics as your kind of two main headings for technology. And then you have infrastructure, culture, military, under development, and under politics you have support of the aristocracy, support of the priesthood, and support of the people. So each of these are going to obviously unlock various buildings. This one probably a lot of military buildings, if similar tree in Rome is to go by anything. And then these other ones seem to unlock kind of elite units towards the end of the campaign. So that's going to be interesting when you get to the end there. And Confederation right at the end that adds +7 to your Imperium. That's interesting. Adding that there. So we have an Imperium there with 4 stages. You're nearly over that first one there. It'll help you progress as you do. Let's the unit pools, I don't believe in the encyclopedia, aren't going to actually help you out here, because I think they're all the same from the main game as such. I don't think they've been updated specifically for Caesar in Gaul, and I think, to be honest, for the Averni, I don't think there are any new units as such, so they're all ones that you're used to before. Just have a quick scroll down though and have a brief look at their units if you're not familiar with them already. Oathsworn are the strongest melee units they have, although I'm not sure about naked swords compared to them. Let's have a quick check. I can't check because that's the one off the ship, but naked swords are pretty powerful as well, but obviously no armor. Here's the Oathsworn, no, Oathsworn reigning supreme, I believe. Yeah. And you have like spear nobles as well, savage dogs, yeah. So all the units pretty much the same, but an interesting starting position. I do have to admit I have always preferred factions that start off kind of with one region when they first start, because I just like the idea of starting small and expanding big. I like that idea for the empires that I will obviously form, and I think the Averni is going to be a fun faction to play as. And Vercingetorix's helmet is pretty freaking awesome, not going to lie. So yeah, now let's look at the Swibby, their starting location, and diplomatic starting.
While I hold the Helvetii responsible for my intervention in Gaul, I feel that the actions of the Suebi have precipitated their actions. Gaul holds many resources that are scarce in Germania, such as the fine iron of the Near Alps, vital to their war effort. Hungry for such territory, the Suebi wage war across the Rhine against the Sequani and any who dare defend them. It is my view that the Suebi revel too much in the conflict surrounding their migration. They will stop at nothing to plunder Gaul of all it has to offer, and must be prevented from doing so.
So that warrior society, which we saw as a modifier on the faction selection screen, holds true for their position on the campaign map. You know, they're being aggressive to expand. You know, Caesar feels that they enjoy it too much, and obviously it's Rome's job to come in and pacify the warring tribes that could potentially threaten Rome at one point. So let's have a look at the strategic map and see where the Suebi start off. They have 3 forces, it would seem. No, these guys, don't know. What's the difference between these guys? Why are these guys blue? I'll probably find out in a moment. They're not allied or something like that. But we start off with 2 territories here. I don't know what this one is. This is they're held by another faction. Perhaps they are allied to us, which would explain the blue. We'll soon find out. But yes, plenty of obviously tribes around to expand to. Just out of reach of Rome, with the Helvetii as a buffer between them in Rome, but obviously Caesar is going to push in against the Helvetii to start with, so that barrier may not be there for long, and they have the whole of the west to push out towards north as well, even across to Britain. So let's come back down and have a look at the diplomacy. Like the Arverni, they have the option for to form a confederation with tribes of the same blood. So it's going to be interesting to see whether they take this up. And actually, these guys have 124. I wonder if we can push a confederation. No. No. I've never been able to form a confederation myself, to be honest. But, yeah, so plenty of options there. What you want to do you want to unite similar-minded or same-blood tribes? Or do you just want to go at it alone and carve up a huge warpath? So here they are, the Vagones. Yep, those dudes there. They are your allies, the Blood Swans. A nice name for an army. And then the rest of your forces are down here. We're all pretty familiar with the Swebby forces. Again, I don't believe any new factions for any new units for them as such. And yeah, again, they've got obviously this wealth through industry, which they're focusing on because agriculture isn't actually the way forward for them if they want to earn money. So we can expand the city here, and we'll see what else we can build. Artisans Lodging is going to let us get to the base units for the Swibby. Germanic slingers, and we can probably already recruit, yeah, spear levy and Germanic youths and club levy, adding into this army there, and then there's that other army over there. So that's the only army you have. You start off with one down here, and it's poised to strike and begin a warpath. Technology. Let's have a look at politics, because it seems very interesting. Support of the aristocracy, priesthood, and people. Very similar, well, exactly the same as the Arverni, but then slightly different abilities and research goals over here. All of those adding to allow you to unlock various units or buffs for your troops at certain points. Well, that is going to be a very interesting campaign as the Swebby, with the Germanic culture. Good one to follow. Anyway, let's wrap up our look at the Caesar and Gaul factions on the campaign map with the Nervi.
As I prepare to intervene in Gaul, I receive word from the north. The Nervii, most warlike of the Belgic tribes, are mobilizing, wary that I will move against them once the south has been subdued. They will likely seek the allegiance of the Atrebates, a powerful tribe who share their disdain for the Roman people. Combined, the two tribes may wage war against the Remi, friends of Rome whose lands contain the only strategic resource in the vicinity. Perhaps the Nervii will establish a stronghold amongst their kinsmen in Britannia. With the north unified against us, nothing will prevent them from surging southwards towards Rome and her people.
The Nervi, the final of the four factions in Caesar in Gaul, and the new faction, the one we haven't seen before. So it's going to be interesting to see what units we see involved here. I'll have a look at their entry in the encyclopedia because theirs will be new and different. But let's have a look at their starting location. They start up over here in the south-western half of Germania Inferior. They have tribes all around, as everyone does in this campaign. Have a look at their technology. Same as the Avernian Swibby, as a sort of Gaelic or Celtic tribe, with that culture there. These first research tree, the support of the aristocracy, going towards a lot of military aspects. Pretty similar, kind of a mix of the Swibby and Arverni in there. And then infrastructure, culture, and military, showing some similar stuff there too. Professional soldiery we have down there, we all know very well. Diplomacy. Now we have a lot of the same blood, a lot of potential friends. They start off with no defensive allies, no military allies, and no enemies. So it is entirely up to the Nervi where they want to go. I would personally have thought they want to unify Germania Inferior and take out the Eberons, rather. They are of the same blood, but I doubt this early on that you're going to be able to force a confederation with them. So you might have to show them some nervy might, some show of force. They have Spear Nobles as a general there, and what can we recruit to start with? Pretty standard Celtic units. Interesting number of mercenaries here. We've got mercenary longbow hunters as well. I like my longbows. Although I still don't see why longbows don't have a further range than standard archers, to be honest. Let's have a look at their unit pool, because this should at least be different for them, unless they are pretty much the same as other Gaelic Celtic factions. And where are they? If they're in here. No, they haven't been added in yet for me, so I will have to look at that later when that gets added in. But anyway, let's have a look here. The Artisans Lodging. Okay, they can get naked spears. Okay, so it's kind of a bit of a mix-up between the various barbarian tribes already in the game. You kind of got naked warriors, now got naked spears, spear brothers that we've seen before, Celtic warriors. To be honest, I'm not expecting too many different units. Maybe just kind of one or two unique units for them. Ah, there we go. Guerrilla swordsman. That's going to be something I'm looking forward to. They'll be interesting to get them through the blacksmith there. And these guys have penalties if they build a lot of industry and commerce buildings, so they want to focus on the agricultural side of things. So yeah, very interesting start for the Nervi there. And there are various generals available to them. And that about wraps up our look at the Caesar in Gaul DLC campaign. I will just briefly end this by looking at the 3 new factions added to the Grand Campaign before we wrap it all up. And of course I will be starting my own Let's Play of Caesar in Gaul as Rome, but I will also be looking to cover the Nervi at some point very soon as well, so be sure to check that out. Now let's take a look at those new factions for the Grand Campaign. So, looking at the 3 new factions for the Grand Campaign as well that are added in with Caesar in Gaul: Galatia, Nervi that we've seen in the Caesar in Gaul campaign, and the boy. So, Galatia. Starting off with Plunderers. That modifier plus 25% income from raiding and sacking. That's a good thing for them. Lots of raiding to do. Right next to Pontus, where they start. Gallo. Gracie, a moderate diplomatic bonus with all Hellenic factions. Okay, so that helps you out. Considering where you are near a lot of Hellenic cultural-based factions, so that's not going to do you too badly there. So I assume that's going to be. I assume obviously you will be a Gaelic or Celtic culture, but you're going to be tolerant of the Hellenic factions there. Isolated, plus 20% non-mercenary recruitment costs. Okay, that is not good, but then you are isolated from your Celtic brothers. The Nervi that we've already seen, they have, Belgic austerity, minus 10% wealth from industrial and commerce buildings. So, okay, so not as brutal in Caesar in Gaul. That was 50%, this is just 10% here, so kind of makes you look towards agricultural buildings a little bit more. Ambushes, plus 10% chance of successfully launching an ambush. That's cool. And national courage, plus 10% morale for all units during battles in own or allied territory. The boy, tribal strafe, or tribal strife rather, not strafe. Lol. Tribal strife, a major diplomatic penalty with all barbarian tribes. Oh dear, that's not good. Cultural aversion there. Pastoral ways, plus 10% wealth from agricultural buildings, and that finally has a positive for agriculture that we've seen with Caesar in Gaul. It's normally been pretty negative towards them, or no impact at all. And Migratory Urges, plus 10% morale for all units during battles in foreign territory. So again, you can be quite aggressive with them. They're going to get a bonus from that. So that about wraps up the coverage of Caesar in Gaul. Galatia, Nervi, and Boy available as factions in the Grand Campaign as well. Be sure to check out my Rome Let's Play in Caesar in Gaul, which will be releasing, or will have already been released, very soon, depending on when this video goes out. And I will also be looking to do a Nervi Let's Play in Caesar in Gaul soon as well. And I'll probably be looking to cover some more factions, perhaps Galatia, once I finish my Rome, Sparta, or Iceni campaigns. But as always, I hope you enjoyed. Please do remember to comment, rate, and subscribe if you've enjoyed this video. And if you want to join the Pride, stay up to date with all the latest updates to my channel, my videos, and all the exciting things I'm getting up to right now, then make sure you, as I said, join the Pride by following me on Facebook and Twitter. Links to both of those are in the description, and I will be seeing you all again soon. Ciao for now.